Hello, YouTube. This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, bringing another power ranking show to you this week as we are now after week 16 in the NFL Stableford League and heading toward the home stretch here. We're 2 weeks away until the playoffs begin, and things are getting a lot more clear with the playoff picture, and I'm going to have an update regarding that. For all those teams that have already clinched a berth, congratulations to you. I will be giving an update on who those teams are, and we'll also be ranking the teams from 32 to number one, like we do every week. Well, most weeks. I think I missed 1 week, but I'm looking forward to that, to this week's rankings. That is for sure. Is there a new number one team? Maybe. We don't know for sure, but I have not released it yet. But we're after week 16, and what a season it's been so far. And this leads me to my next order of business here on this power ranking show. Uh, with such a great season that we've been getting a lot of interest from other players not currently in the league, asking about how you get in the league and what's going to be happening next now that we're at the end of our current regular season. Uh, Now that we're actually playing week 17 and finishing it today, and then heading into the final week 18 this week now, that which will end the following Sunday. We'll go back to the regular schedule this week for week number 18, and then we'll head to the postseason, and then we'll begin the wild card round of the playoffs. So that's the first order of business, is let's get to the playoffs and let's wrap up the regular season. But before we do that, I need to hear from each team owner, and this is a perfect opportunity now that we're heading into week number 18 this week, that when you do hand in your card or when you do stream this week, whichever way you decide to play or report your score, I would like to know if you would be interested, as a current league member, in what is coming up next. If you are not in the playoffs, this is about you, and if you are in the playoffs, this is also about you. But you have a little bit more time to respond if you're in the playoffs, because you'll be still playing, obviously, in the following week in the wild card round. But then you can just give your answer to me during that game. But for those whose last week is week 18, I do need to know if you are interested in retaining your ownership of your team, first of all, because there will be a competition after this league season ends, and it will begin in March. And it will be NFL Stableford March Madness. It will be a 2-game minimum tournament that I've never done something like this before. I've done the Stableford Cup, which is a tournament type format with a pool play involved. But this is a little bit different because in the United States we have a concept known as March Madness that happens every March in college basketball. That is basically a bracket tournament. Now, this is going to be where things might where I might lose some people, so bear with me here. But with the amount of interest I've been receiving from people outside the league and how much word is spread, and I really want to thank everybody in the league for, this doesn't happen unless you have a successful season and a successful foundation to build on. And this season has been awesome. Everybody's been great. Very minimal any issues we've even had, if there have been any at all. So totally appreciative of all the efforts of everybody involved. So at the top of this show, I want to thank everybody first of all for getting their games in every week and for just having a great season overall. But what it comes down to is with this March Madness concept, First of all, I will be getting my break, as I know Greg and others have mentioned. Burnout can happen, and I know exactly what it's like. And trust me, I'm not burning out. I mean, I kind of burned out on the tours, but that was kind of coming down the road because I just was starting to lose interest in the pro difficulty setting and just wasn't really like, I mean, feeling it in terms of, I couldn't compete with the Happy Tea friends, and I was in CCA, and I knew my scores weren't going to stack up, and that's why I left that. I mean, and I gave Kevin my notice, and I know I left on really good terms. But at the same time, it's like I know there's lots of players in that league who I have a ton of respect for, who I was teammates with, and have actually come in and helped me out in this league. I think Stadium Rocker and um, I know Love Scud was my partner back in the Stableford Cup for a couple weeks, or for a few weeks. But things happen, and I totally get it. But at the same time, it's like totally respect that they're playing, pro difficulty and they're playing CC rounds, and I was a part of that. But getting back to the original point here of this March Madness tournament, I'd like to use it as a way to involve more people if it's possible. I mean, if it comes down to losing some players after this season ends, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. I'm going to be taking my own break as I'm pretty much out of the playoffs if I don't win this week. And I have until the end of today to get my round in there and figure that out. But as it is, I'll probably be getting, I'll be tracking the league in January, obviously for the playoffs and up until the Super Bowl. But I'll have time between, February and March where I'll probably be either doing some recruiting and putting teams together, and that leads to the next thing here. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but right now we're at 32 teams in the league. And obviously, if everybody stays, that's great. If everybody wants to play in this March Madness tournament that I'm going to put together, there will be a selection show. I will be doing a recap show like this, and I'll be announcing brackets. I'll be announcing, results of the week of each round. I'll be doing results very similar to what I'm doing right now, and that's why I wanted to keep it with the NFL. I wanted to keep the same 32 teams involved, but the way that I'm envisioning getting more people involved is we get a if we basically just double the amount of people in the league. Now we could do that pretty easily if there's lots of people that are playing right now that have asked about this league and asked about being a part of it, and I think this would be probably a really great opportunity to meet new people, maybe add some new players to the proceedings. But I know it won't come without a lot of growing pains because you're basically trying to double the size of your league, and it's definitely going to take a lot of effort. But as it is, I'm okay if the tournament is capped at 32 players. I'm fine with that as well. But as it is, my main thing is if you are finishing this season in week number 18, that to please let me know if you would be interested in playing in the March Madness tournament. It would begin the first week of March, more than likely, and it would be one game a week still, same format, same Hail Marys, same best 9-hole score that you've come to know and love, and same handicaps because your handicaps are based on what you ended off with in the master difficulty, and therein lies another thing. If you bring in new players, they all got to get handicapped, and I have to know where to place them and how many points they should be getting and how many, if they should get any at all. And this is where I'm going to probably need to do my research and look up some people, and I know I can do that, and I'm okay with that. But as it is, a lot of the interest I've been getting, and people are probably noticing this, is we're getting people that are wanting to play that are coming from the Brew Crew, which I think is awesome because they're probably the rock stars of the forums. I mean, they're on every day, and it's such a great group that they have over there. And I know Their engagement is just off the charts in that group, and I totally respect the hell out of that. And I know in our NFL Stableford group, we have a great group here as well. I mean, I know we have a Discord. I'm doing this show, trying to get the word out about just pixel golf and just try not to do too much, but at the same time, we do. We're a little bit more relaxed here. It's more of a one round a week thing, whereas they're playing rounds every day. So this is like going to be just another thing on their plate. So that's why before we go too far, like I guess to gauge the interest level, I've been hearing from some people on Twitch that I was on I was on a Twitch stream this morning, and they say 2 or 3 people had already asked, "What's this Master Society this Master League, this Master Difficulty Society this NFL thing?" And it's just this is what it is. And basically, when the postseason ends, my plans are to take February off, doing recruiting, uh, doing some planning for the league, going forward for the March Madness tournament, which I envision being a 2 game minimum tournament. Before I get into the whole nuts and bolts of it all, if you've gotten this far, thank you for staying with me here because I know it's a lot to digest, but it's basically I want to get this off the top of the show so that if people aren't really in the league right now and they're listening to this, that you don't have to worry about the rankings or anything because all this information is going to be at the top of the show. But basically, what's going to happen is come March, uh, everything is in February is going to be about logistics and getting, making sure we got all 32 teams accounted for, who's going to be on which teams, and deciding who's going to play with who, and going from there. So what's going to happen is I'm probably going to put out a clarion call for players, far and wide. Whether you're a pro, whether you're in the Brew Crew, whether you're in Happy Tea Friends, whether you're in Band of Brothers, whatever organization or wherever you play, I like to put out a call just for people that are willing to want to play Master difficulty and be a part of the NFL League and be a part of the March Madness tournament. You could be a legend, player from the past who already played in the NFL League before. Really would love that. I know a lot of guys, are out there still on the forums that used to be in this league, looking to just put everything in the past and trying to put on a great tournament for March, which will have a lot of excitement and a lot of fun involved. It'll be a two game minimum, and how it will work is the 32 players that are currently in the league are going to have their invitations given to them basically either through this show or I'll probably send something as well to you in your personal messages on the forums or through Discord. If you're already in the Discord for the NFL, you're probably already knowing that I release these shows on a weekly basis and announcements happen all the time. But just as just as a first shot here, if you're in the league right now, you're basically invited to participate in this March Madness tournament. So with that being said, that means we have a base of 32 players already. So obviously it's going to be a 32 team tournament with the NFL teams all being represented here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put out a call to anybody that wants to play, basically, and that opens up 32 spots. And what that means is everybody will have a partner, or if we move to 64 players. So how that will work is it will be a little bit different than what we did for the Stableford Cup. I'm planning on doing a doubles format that's a little bit more scoring, not so much scoring as we had last summer because that was a lot of points put on the board for 2 players. So what I'm thinking of doing is having each player play their round as they would in the normal NFL Stableford League format. Best 9-hole score, and then you take the lowest score between the two players will be your base score, and then the higher score will be minus. You'll take the higher score of your two, and that will be 15 will be subtracted by it. So, for example, just to use an example, say the Packers team of myself and Art Vandelay, let's say, as an example. It could be anybody. Like, we don't know exactly. I'm not exactly sure how the teams are going to get put together, whether they're going to be more organic or whether I'm going to have to do some sort of a draft. I really don't want to. I'd rather just have the people that want to play together go together. And therein lies another issue: is if you already have a team in the league and you want to team up with someone else in the league, you're both going to have to decide, what team you're going to take. That's going to be another issue, and team ownership is going to be another thing to work out. But as it is, with the format itself, I'm envisioning, like, if two players, the doubles format would be, if, say, one player scores, say I score 23 and Art scores like a 25. He outscores me, great. But the thing is, my score will be the base score because it's 23, so it's lower. Then Art's score of 25 would be subtracted by 15 to get to 10, and then that would add to my base score of 23. So our score would be 33 as a team. Which the scoring will be a little bit higher because I know we had that in the doubles format over the summer. But wow, that point scoring went off the charts. And we did try doing a modified point system, and I don't think it really worked that well. So I'm kind of thinking of just staying with the same Stableford scoring system that they use in the game, just to alleviate any confusion for any live matches or anything like that if they were to happen. But that's one thing I really would like to see with a tournament, is if we did some live matches, and if we were able to get like 4 people out on a stream together and playing against each other, that would be awesome. But I'm not going to put the cart before the horse here with that. The main thing is are we going to have it be a 32-team, 32-player tournament, or do we want to go to a 32-team, 64-player tournament? And with the amount of interest I've been getting and seeing online and from Twitch streams and whatnot, I'm going to dip my foot in the pool and see where it goes. So in the next coming weeks, I'm going to try to lock down who's all going to be in the tournament from the league currently, and then we'll go on a recruiting mission after that and find out how many players are willing to take the plunge into master difficulty again and go for it and be a part of the NFL in this March Madness tournament, which I think is a great way to not do another 18-week season, because we just are finishing up with that, and I really don't want to go back down that road again right away. Because I just thought a gap between now and August and September would just be way too much. And I believe the EA game and any new game is going to come out sometime in the summer. I think EA's game got pushed back. I thought it was supposed to come out around the Masters, but I actually don't think it's going to be out until like June or July now, which, don't quote me on that, but either way, like, if that comes out and everything just stops, I'm okay with that, because I'm okay with doing this March Madness tournament instead of doing the Stableford Cup if it comes down to it, and then figuring out where to go for the next season. So this is kind of a way of saying, hey, this is kind of like an intro to NFL Stableford. Look at it that way. And if I know there's a lot of players that, have kicked the tires in the past regarding the NFL Stableford League, and like, well, what's that? I hear about it, but I don't know what it really is. This is a perfect opportunity to get involved and be a part of something really cool, and have a cool partner on top of that. And you can pick. The thing is, what I want to do is I want to establish the base of players that we have first, and then any new players that get added to the league or get added to the tournament will decide. I'll probably put out a thing saying, hey, do you have a person you want to play with, or are you okay with just being matched up with anybody in the league? And I might try to do something based a little bit more on skill levels, but I think with the handicap system, that will probably shake itself out, because I think right now with our handicap system, I'm pretty pleased with how it's working. And when you see the Xbox player making the playoffs, that brings a twinkle to my eye as a commissioner. So that means I did something right there. But at the same time, I also want to be, cognizant of everybody's, there are rivalries, and I know there are people that like the competition, and at the same time, there's people that have been friends on here forever. So I would really like to see like some maybe some of that, and also like maybe some new partnerships arise. And I could team up with Art anytime. I mean, but at the same time, we're not on the same console, and so that's another limitation as well of some of the team things. But I know a lot of the Xbox guys love to team up, and they're doing a team thing right now in Band of Brothers, which I think is awesome. But I just think it's one of those things where there's a lot of great duos out there who like have teamed up, and right now I can't give you an opening for like which teams are going to be available yet, because I don't exactly know. But right now I know the league is full at 32 teams, at least as I'm talking right now. So as it is, please bear with me on this idea. I'm announcing it now because I don't want there to be a lull. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm dropping off the face of the earth after February, after the Super Bowl. I'm going to Cancun or something, because I'm not. I'll still be around. But what's going to happen is I'm going to probably be going into preparation mode for this tournament and getting as many players as possible that are interested in playing, and then setting up a bracket and doing a selection show and announcing all the matchups. And it'll basically be a single, not a single elimination, because it will be a 2-game minimum. And that's where the fun part's going to be. Is we're going to start with 32 teams, and basically if you win, you advance, and if you lose, you'll get another shot. You will get another chance. So basically what that means is there will be 2 brackets. Well, it'll be one big bracket, but what will happen is the losers of the first round will all get another shot. And so if you lose 2 in a row, then you're pretty much out. But if you lose the first game and then you win the next one, you'll get back into the tournament proper, and you'll join the 16 teams that have already won their first game. And the 16 teams that have already won their first game will continue on to the Elite Eight. And then that Elite Eight will join up with the 8 teams that won the losers game, and then those will become the Super 16. So we'll have the Super 16 teams then go down to the Elite Eight again, or the Super 8, however you want to call it, and then we'll go to the Final Four like they have in the NCAA basketball, and then we go to the Final 2, and then we crown the March Madness champion, which will probably be sometime at the end of March or early April. Usually they wrap it up in early April. But we'll try to do around a week, and I'll do a selection. I'll do a recap show every week for the matchups, and I'll announce the matchups every week and go over the recaps of the previous week. But what will happen is it'll be random. All the seating and everything will be random. I don't want to rank people that I don't really have any history for in the league, and so everything will be random matchups, and everything after that first round, there will be brackets going one way and then brackets going another way. The winner's side will go to the right, the losers will go to the left. Then if you lose your second game, you're out. If you win your second game after you lose your first game, you'll continue. So it's a 2-game minimum. If you lose 2 and you're out, that's your 2-game minimum. If you win your first game, you keep on going to the second round, and you take the road to the Final Four then. But there will be a little bit of a rejoinder of the teams that lost their first game coming back and playing back into the tournament proper. So it could be a little mad. It's going to be madness. So I'm looking forward to doing this, because I know there's a lot of players that just, haven't really done a tournament like this, and tournaments allow for a lot of weird results and a lot of things that can happen in a tournament. And with partners, that even adds a little bit more intrigue. So I guess I just didn't want to do like the same one-on-one match play that we've been doing the last 18 weeks here. I was hoping maybe we could do like a doubles. So that's all I gotta say about the future plans of the NFL Stableford League. It was a lot. It was pretty long-winded, but you know what? I think I got everything out there that I wanted to say regarding the tournament itself and what I'm going to be doing to prepare for it. And I'm really hoping to get some good feedback on the forums or via Messenger, via the forum Messenger, or via Discord. And if you have any questions, just please reach out to me, Lefty79. I'm very accessible, and I'm willing to answer any questions you may have. And yes, Les, I will answer your questions because I know you're one of the guys, and I know Ben. If you have any questions as well, like if you need me to get you any information to the Brew Crew members that are interested. I mean, I'm not saying all 32 Brew Crew members are gonna be interested. I mean, I had Brew Crew members that were in the NFL Stableford League in the past, and it just didn't work out. But as it is now, everything's handicapped. I will do my research to make sure you're ranked fairly or rated fairly, and it's not like you're walking into a buzzsaw or anything like that. So, as it is, I'm very intrigued to see how this thing is going to turn out. If we do it at all, I mean, it's still in the planning stages right now. It's still, do we go with the 32 teams or the 32 players, or do we bump it up to go to 64 players? We'll see what happens, but I'm very interested to see how it's going to turn out. And I thank you for listening to this as I now move to the next order of business, and that is the NFL Stableford League power rankings. And at long last, we've been on the Atlanta Falcons now for about 15 to 20 minutes here. But as it is, I want to welcome another new member to the league, and that is Sean. Sean Prouse I believe he's from the Brew Crew. He came over. I had an opening with the Falcons that just opened up, and didn't hear back from their original owner, Ruby Rock. So, Sean, thank you for coming in and taking over the Dirty Birds on short notice, and for getting in your games for the last 2 weeks. This is actually from the last week that Ruby was scheduled to play, and the Falcons lost to Detroit, 26-0. They dropped from the 25th spot down to 32. It's a 7-spot drop, just basically for not playing. And it basically, well, then I'm not gonna have sour grapes over it because I needed Detroit to lose. Let's face it, the Packers were really kind of hoping that result would go a different way, but it did not. As the Falcons now are now 5-10. As of this power ranking show, I know there's been games that have happened since this show, but since we're covering after week 16, this is just covering the week 16 results and the records after that. So next, the Falcons play at Buffalo, who are 8-7. I know that game has already taken place, and there will be more about that in the next power ranking show, which I will be attempting to do in a couple days' time here. I just want to wrap up the Monday week 17, and then we'll go and do that week 17 show this week. The Falcons have now lost their last 4 games, and they were out of the playoffs. They were eliminated a couple weeks back already. So, but they are one of the biggest losers this week in the rankings. Was the Atlanta Falcons. Actually, they were the biggest loser in the rankings this week. And now we will move on from them and now move to number 31. Who do we have here? Well, we head all the way across the country from one corner to the other. It's the Seattle Seahawks at number 31. They're 3-12 now after losing at home to Chicago 28-21. The Seahawks stay exactly where they are. They were 31st last week, and that's where they'll stay. They lost their last 5 games now, and now we'll be playing at home against Detroit, who's 9-6, and looking to seal a wild card berth. Well, we know the Seahawks have been out now for a while. A little bit of struggles, a lot of struggles this year in the Master difficulty for Chris, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. I don't want to kick the birds while they're down, but it's just tough for the 12s to have to go through a tough season like this. But I know Chris is a very good competitor, and he did make the playoffs in his first season when he was the Jaguars, and that was under master difficulty. But it's just sometimes the transition from pro to master just doesn't work for some people, and that's pretty much what happened here. So, but kudos to Chris for putting up a decent effort at home against Chicago. Unfortunately, it was not enough, as that new Chicago owner definitely had some motivation, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But as it is, it's pretty much the end of the line for Seattle. They're just playing out the string. I'm really hoping they can beat Detroit, but I'm not getting my hopes up, because if Detroit wins, they pretty much clinch a wild card berth, and we'll get into the playoff picture a little bit more later here once we get to a little bit closer towards the middle part of this list when we start hitting the playoff teams. But as it is, Seattle is at 31, and that's where they stay. As we now go to number 30. It's the Carolina Panthers of Polecat. Uh, they're 3-12 as well. They're down a spot this week for number 29. They did lose at home to Tampa Bay, 22-20. Tough loss to a divisional rival there. I thought maybe the Panthers would have a shot, maybe getting one more win before the end of the season, but just wasn't to be, as the Buccaneers just kept on rolling. The Panthers now have lost their last 2 and are looking to try to change that at New Orleans this week, in Week 17. New Orleans is 5-10, so anything can happen there. It's another divisional game for the Panthers in the NFC South, but want to give Polecat credit for always being on time with getting their games in every week. And yeah, it's just, after a while, if you just don't see the results, it's definitely easy to just kind of like stop practicing and just stop, extra activities, and it's okay. I mean, we've all been down that road, but as it is, it's the Panthers at number 30 this week, and they are down one spot from last week. As we now move to number 29, and one of our newer team owners, it's the Philadelphia Eagles of Zuby, who are 5-10 this week after losing at home to the Giants, 27-20. No, Don just keeps on rolling. But the Eagles are down one spot this week from number 28. They're next at the football team, Washington, who are 10-5 and already celebrating their playoff berth, as they have clinched a wild card, and that is as far up as they'll be able to go, as the Giants have already clinched the NFC East outright. And the Eagles now have lost their last 8 games, so we'll get to the Eagles here in a minute. Really appreciative of Zuby, first of all, for coming in and taking over the team. There was a lot of turmoil here with this squad, as didn't really hear much from their previous owner for a little while there, and then I basically just Zuby reached out asking if there was any spots, and it's exactly how it works. If somebody's not available and I'm not getting the responses, then yeah, I'm gonna reach out to find somebody, and usually I give like a 2-week period where if you don't play or I don't hear from you and you're not responding, then I'll move on and I'll try to find somebody else, and I'll notify the previous owner and say, yeah, this player is going to take over your spot. So, and that's what happened here with Zuby. He's been a trooper ever since. He got thrown into a tough situation in the NFC East, And you know what? The scores are going to come. I mean, master difficulty when you haven't played it for a while, yeah, there's a little bit of an adjustment period there. But as it is, you know, it's definitely par is a big deal. 2 points is a big deal. 3 points is even better when you birdie a hole. But as it is, it's like the Eagles unfortunately just didn't get enough of their namesake this season, which would be 4 points. So as it is, the Eagles fans will go back into go back to the drawing board next year and hope for better results in 2022. But as it is, yeah, I mean, we're in a new year now. I don't think I even mentioned Happy New Year at the top of the show. But here, we're in 2022 now, and the fortunes could definitely change for the Eagles, and they could change as soon as March if they can make a big run in the March Madness tournament. So we'll see what happens. As we now move on to number 28. As I check on my sheet here and we move forward. It's the Indianapolis Colts coming in at 4-10-1 at number 28. It's B-Mel's down 6 spots this week from number 22 after a tough loss at Arizona, 27-22. Big win there for Art. That was a nice win at home there for him. But yeah, that was a really tough loss for B-Mills. That pretty much knocked him out of playoff contention. I think there might have been an outside shot if he had won that, but it would have been very close. The weeks are just there just weren't enough weeks left, I don't believe, and I think that was the end of that. If they would have won, they would have been five. They would have had 5 wins, and right now the leaders are at 7 wins. So there would have been an outside shot, but he would have had to have gotten a lot of help, and I don't know if the horseshoe was lucky enough this year to get all that, but we'll see going forward how things go for the Colts as they now will play the Raiders, Las Vegas at home, who are 5-10. That should be a good one. That's going to be wild. There's lots of points on the board. That you know, the Colts stadium leads to a lot of points, and the Vegas Raiders are capable of putting up a big number as well. So I envision a shootout there, and I think it'll be anybody's game. So, but yeah, tough season for Ben. Really appreciate him being in the league. I know he brought in a few players as well that have been very good for the league. I want to say his opponent next week, the Vegas Raiders, Chinatown, streams every week. Love it. Great for the league, and I really enjoy having him. And I believe Chinatown helped bring in Platypus Brigade. Uh, Andrew, who's been awesome every week with the Titans, streaming every week. And I really hope that some of these players decide that they want to continue and play in the March Madness tournament, and bring someone else from Xbox or bring one of their friends who wants to play as well. Uh, that's definitely going to be on the table when it comes to this tournament coming up. So I don't go away. I'm going to ask that you at least give me a heads up before you check out for the season. But as it is, the Colts down 6 spots this week. They're another one of our bigger losers after losing at the Cardinals, who have been struggling a lot this year, but are looking like they're starting to turn things around. As we now go to number 27, right next door, it's Sky Blue Ben's Dallas Cowboys. His favorite, the Stars, 4-11. The most famous cheerleaders in the NFL are down 1 spot from number 26. Well, the team that they represent, anyway. The Dallas Cowboys are down 1 spot from last week after losing at home to the football team 29-25. Put up a good fight there. The football team, Washington, has been on fire, and Zach, has been on a great playoff push, and we'll find out where the football team is ranked a little bit later. But Ben probably since he's been in the league now has just been off the charts with his enthusiasm for being the Cowboys owner, and you got to have that gregarious personality if you're going to be in Dallas, because they always say, everything's bigger in Texas, and that's the old saying anyway. And uh, but Ben went down to the Big D, and now he's looking to try to get his first win down there. And could he get it this week at home against Art and the Arizona Cardinals? We'll find out as Arizona is coming in at 4-11, and the battle of 4-11 teams will be very interesting. But the Cowboys, yeah, they've lost their last 4 games. I believe Ben was responsible for 2 of those, maybe 3 of those since he's been back. But been competitive in every game, and that NFC East, yeah, that's definitely a tough situation to be thrown into. As I mentioned before, with Zuby, because Zuby and Ben basically joined around the same time, and it's been great to have them in the league. So maybe the fortunes will change in the March Madness tournament with a random type matchup where they could make a run in the brackets. You never know what could happen in that. So I'm already plugging it and promoting it already, and I don't even know if it's even happening yet. But I'm just working on a hypothetical there, seeing how see if I can drum up a little bit of interest here. But Cowboys definitely intrigued to see where they go in the future, and really happy to see that Ben's enjoying it, and really glad to have him back in the league. As we now move to number 26, another longtime team owner, Kade, the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-9. Now they got a really good record, and I kind of was a little leery about putting them down this low. But I know the Chiefs are kind of due for a breakout, and I think it's coming. And I think a team that might be really surprised by that is on his upcoming schedule here. But yeah, the Chiefs are down 2 spots for number 24. They lost at home to Pittsburgh 28-21. Now that was, Pittsburgh just put it on them. Pittsburgh is fighting for their playoff life right now, and the Chiefs are already eliminated. So I think there was some issues at Arrowhead this year for the Chiefs. They had a little bit of a tough time at home. But now they get to go on the road at Cincinnati, and this is a big upset alert here, I believe. The Chiefs and the Bengals are going to face off in Cincinnati. The Bengals are 12-3, but they cannot look past the Chiefs, as Kike is capable of putting up a big number at any time. But the Chiefs have lost their last 4, and that's probably why they dropped down this far this week. If they can beat the Cincinnati on the road, definitely I can see them bouncing back up these rankings next week. As we now hit the top 25, and it's the Arizona Cardinals, number 25, Art Vandelay, 4-11. They're up 2 spots this week after that big win at home against the Colts, 27-22, as I mentioned before. And next they will be playing at Dallas. So we got a nice little matchup there between a couple PC players. I know Ben's been dabbling a little bit in Xbox as well, but I think he played it on PC. I'm guessing Art has most likely or will be streaming that one, and we'll have all the results and all the details for that in our next show. But Dallas is 4-11, so it's a nice battle of 2 4-11 teams. Glad to see Art got bounced getting off the mat. I know he's had a rough season this year, but you could tell he's fighting all the way to the end, and you gotta love that, as he is a fellow lefty, and lefties don't give up. And he is my former Stableford Cup doubles partner, so I'm really glad to see him bounce back and get up into the top 25 again. No bias. I'm just happy for him. As we now move up to number 24. Another player who's had a little bit of an up and down season. It's Chinatown and the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 5-10. They're down 3 spots this week after losing at home to Denver, 27-25 to their division rivals. The Raiders are already out of playoff contention, but that was a really good game, and I thought maybe they would have had a shot at maybe spoiling Denver's playoffs, but it just was not to be. Now the Raiders will go at Indianapolis, who are 4-10-1. That, like I said before, that's going to be a really good game. I think that'll be a shootout, as I know the Raiders can put up some points. I mean, they put up over 30 a few times this year, and I think they would be a big dark horse pick for a March Madness type tournament, as they are capable of putting up some big numbers. And if you put a partner with Chinatown who can score big numbers as well, you're talking big points. I mean, you're talking a guy who can put up 30 points in the right conditions in the right situation. So, and he gets a lot of handicap too. So, kudos to the Raiders though for putting on a good effort at home against Denver. Just it wasn't enough, and now they have a shot to get to 6 wins at Indianapolis. We'll see if they can do that. As we now move up to Chinatown's buddy at number 23, and we all know that's the Tennessee Titans of Platypus Brigade, who made a huge leap this week. They're the big jumper of the week. They're the big gainers of going from number 32 all the way up to number 23, a jump of 9 spots. They're 4-11, but they didn't play like that against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 16, as they knocked them off at home, 29-27 at home. Huge win for the Titans for morale and just for a big boost there. Played really well at home and got the win to show for it. But next, well, they're out of the playoff. They're out of playoff contention, so they played the spoiler perfectly, and they moved up in the power rankings to boot. So as it is, the Titans will now be playing the Dolphins at home, so they could possibly make another playoff team a little bit upset, as the Dolphins will come in at 10-5, and that one could be very close. We'll see how that shakes out. But the Titans, another example of a team that just didn't give up. They kept plugging away and put up a big number and upset a top-seeded NFC team that's going to the playoffs in the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they're actually the number 2 seed right now as of this ranking show. So kudos to Platypus Brigade and Andrew for doing that, and congrats on the 23 rank, the 23rd ranked team this week, the Tennessee Titans. As we now move to number 22, who do we have? It's the New Orleans Saints of Greg McMillan, who are 5-10. Another big jump this week, from number 29 to 22. That's a jump of 7 spots after beating the Miami Dolphins at home, 26-25. So very solid win there against the playoff team, the Miami Dolphins, who I believe are currently in the second spot in the AFC. Actually, no, the third spot, but they are the AFC East division leaders. So that's a big win. I mean, these wins would not have happened probably a season ago without the handicap system and without just the amount of games and amount of time you play master difficulty. Things can go your way, and even if you're 5-10, you have something to play for, and you got pride and you got bragging rights, and that's exactly what the Saints did this week by beating Miami and basically sending them into now a must-win game next week for the AFC East. As now the Saints will play the Carolina Panthers at home, who are 3-12, so a chance to go on a little bit of a winning streak before the end of the season for Greg. So we'll see if he can do that, as the Saints check in this week at number 22 and they're going to hope to keep on marching up this list, but we'll see if they can do that. As we now go to number 21, who do we have? Who gets the blackjack spot this week? It's the Cleveland Browns of Mav Hockey. Tim, 6-9 is the record. They're out of playoff contention in the AFC after last week's loss at Green Bay. knocked them out. They moved down 2 spots this week from number 19. They lost at Green Bay 27-22. Just weren't able to put anything together at Lambeau, and it was a tough place to play. Weather was pretty cold, I'm sure, and the Packers finally put one together. And well, probably a little bit too little, too late. But the Browns now will be playing at Pittsburgh, division rival. A chance to maybe play some spoiler now. The Steelers are 9-6, and the Browns, with the mirror image of that record, are looking to play for pride here to end this season. Uh, there was the Browns are in the toughest division in the league, the AFC North. That division, it's all platinum, pro type players, and wow, it was a battle every week in that division. And the Browns, unfortunately, were on the losing end of that. But kudos to Tim. Every week played his games. Never had any issues, and he knew he was in a tough situation, and he made the most of it, and was able to stay in the playoff race up until week 16. But now it's the end of the line for the Browns. So I hope to see them uh, possibly in a couple months. We'll see. As we now move to the top 20, and a team that I know pretty well, as I am a fan of this team, and they are the team that I own. It's the Green Bay Packers at 7-8. Lefty myself, I'm number 8 in the AFC right now. I'm pretty much the only team in the hunt for a playoff spot in the NFC, as everybody else. Uh, I mean, the playoffs are pretty much set in the NFC. It's pretty much a mere formality, as the Packers are going to need a lot of help to try to find their way in, but they're hanging by a thread right now. As the Packers are up 3 spots this week after winning at home against Cleveland 27-22, as previously mentioned. And next we'll be playing at home against Minnesota. I'll probably be getting that in today. Well, I will be getting it in today because the deadline's today. But the Vikings are 10-5 and can probably knock the Packers out. So that's like the mirror image of real life. As last night the Packers knocked the Vikings out. So, but that was real. That was the actual NFL, or the real life NFL. But unfortunately, in this case, uh, life does not imitate, or art does not imitate life in this case. Well, not Art Vandelay, actual art, but unfortunately, yeah, it's just it was a rough season for the Packers, and they made the playoffs and won their division last year, but this year ran into just ran into too many issues, I think, along the way with the coaching, and just some of the execution was not there as in the previous season, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. But we'll see if the Packers can at least try to finish on a positive note. Try to get above 500 is probably the goal now, and they'll have to try to win their last two. They'll have to win their last 2 games if they're going to want to do that, and they're going to need some help from any of the teams above them in the NFC if they're going to actually try to make a playoff spot. But as it is, it's a very remote possibility, as I do not believe the Packers have any of the tiebreakers, and I think they would have to hope for a 3-way tie and hope that they have a tiebreaker, and I'm not really sure that that's going to happen. But that's enough about the Packers, as we now move on to their bitter NFC North rival at number 19, who leapfrogged the Packers in these rankings. It's the Chicago Bears. In this style, Lucas, another new player to the league. 6-9 is the record for the Bears. They're up 1 spot from number 20 after winning at Seattle in an impressive fashion, 28-21. So kudos to Lucas on getting your first win in the league. Hey, every week is you can't take it for granted. No matter what the record is, everybody's playing 1 week at a time, and you never know what could happen in the NFL Stableford League. And it was an impressive win, and now they'll get to play at home against the New York Giants of Tag Rocket, who are 13-2 and the cream of the crop in the NFC. So we'll see if the Bears can put up a good fight at home against the Giants. The G-men are just on a different level right now, and the Bears really some good stability here from Lucas taking over and getting that win at on the road. So looking to see if the Bears, uh, if they're back in March, we'll see what happens. But as it is, a great effort there for Lucas to get that first win under his belt in the NFL Stableford League, and a 19 ranking is not bad. As we now head more, as we head toward the midpoint here, we're at number 18 now. Who do we have? We move to the Buffalo Bills of Patrick, who are now 8-7. They're still alive in the AFC playoff picture. They're at number 10 right now in the rankings there, but they need to get some help as they're down 2 spots after losing at New England in a tough matchup between AFC East rivals there, 22-19 in a very low-scoring affair. There was probably a blizzard up in Foxborough that just didn't allow for a lot of scoring, and the Bills Mafia struggled, and they weren't able to break 20, which that's pretty rare to see, but as it is, sometimes the conditions are just not right for scoring, and that's what happened there. As now the Bills will take on the Atlanta Falcons and the new owner Sean, uh, who are 5-10 right now. So that's pretty much it's a must-win for the Bills. They have to keep pace now and try to get to 10 wins if they can. As right now, 10 wins is pretty much what the target is now for an AFC playoff spot. Uh, right now, we got the Steelers in the 7th spot at 9-6. So the problem with Buffalo is they don't have a lot of tiebreakers in their favor. Their division record is not the best, and they also do not have a tiebreaker with the team ahead of them right now who has the same record, which we'll get to in a minute here. But let's look at the positive here for the Bills. They're still alive. They have a home game coming up against a team that's struggled a little bit this season, and they have a shot to keep their season alive. So we'll see if the Bills can do that at home against the Falcons as we now move up to number 17, and a team that's been grinding all season long, but unfortunately ran into some tough sledding this week. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Corey, who are number 11 in the AFC after losing at home or on the road at the New York Jets, 26-23. So they lost by a field goal. The Jaguars dropped 4 spots this week from number 13, and they also drop out of the lead in the AFC South with that loss. So that was a double whammy. And now they'll have to play at New England, who are 10-5. So the schedule makers are not doing the Jaguars any favors at all by making them go to the Northeast in back-to-back weeks. So much for that tropical weather, that you're getting used to down in Jacksonville, as you're now going to be going up to the frigid Northeast again to try to salvage a win up in Foxborough against a team that's trying to clinch an AFC East title. But as it is, the Jaguars hope is still alive, as right now they are in an absolute tie with the Houston Texans in terms of their record, but the Texans do have the tiebreaker, and that's something that to keep in mind, as right now the Jaguars are on the outside looking in. So we'll have to see what happens here these last 2 weeks, and if Corey is able to pull it off. But as it is, it's not looking good right now. But check back in a week and we'll see, or check back at our next show and we'll see what happened in week number 17, as that will definitely dictate what's going to happen in that AFC South division and who's going to get that playoff spot in the AFC. As we now move to number 16, well, they're right next door. It's the New York Jets, and they're beginning to soar as they're number 9 in the AFC. As David uh, did get that big win at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 26-23. Now has moved up 2 spots, and now right in the middle of these rankings at number 16. So they're right on the borderline right now of being a playoff team. They're a game behind in the standings and trail those Pittsburgh Steelers and also the Denver Broncos, who we have not mentioned yet. So the Jets have some teams that they're going to have to leapfrog if they're going to get into the wild card hunt. They're into the wild card berth that they're looking for, as the Jets have never missed the playoffs in NFL Stableford, but this season is not. This season could be the end of that run, but we'll find out as they'll now play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. So there's an advantage there at home, 9-6. The Buccaneers have already clinched the NFC South, so they really don't have a lot to play for in terms of seeding, as they are pretty much locked into that 4 spot. But they're trying to move up, but right now they're still a game behind the 3 seed, and 2 back of the number 2 seed. So as it is, yeah, the Buccaneers definitely are going to try to move up after already clinching their division. So definitely they're going to get the best of the Bucs, but we'll see if the Jets can do it. We'll see if the Jets can earn their wings this week, as that's going to be a tough matchup, even though it is at home. So the Jets do have a little bit of an advantage there, but they're going to have to bring their A game if they're going to try to get into that AFC playoff picture. Well, they're in the picture, but now they have to try to get into the AFC wildcard berth. And as it is, the AFC East is probably it's already out of reach for them, which they're already 2 games behind in the standings there, and I don't believe they have any tiebreakers. So as it is, the AFC East is pretty much out of the question. So this is it. The Jets, the Jets pretty much have to run the table here from here on out. We'll see if David can do it as we now move on to number 15. And this team has been a big surprise all season long, and probably a candidate for Coach of the Year here. It is the Houston Texans of Paul, the Taft Man, who are 7-1 and now leading the AFC South in the number 4 seed right now in the AFC. They're up 2 spots from number 17 last week. They tied the Los Angeles Chargers 27 apiece. So that was a big result for the Texans, as a loss there would have definitely hurt their chances to stay atop the AFC South. So sometimes a tie is good, and in this case it was. Now you don't get any points for a tie in the NFL, but you don't lose, and that's a big thing there. So as it is, Paul now is now winless in his last 2 games. But if you're going to be winless, at least you got a tie out of it. So all was not lost there. As next they will be playing at the 49ers, who are 11-4. So that's a big game for Paul. It's 2 division leaders facing off, and really Paul needs this game badly. We'll see if he can get it. As the way he's been playing lately, he put up a record score not too many weeks ago, and the coaching has just been very good this year for the Texans, and they're going to be playing in a tough environment in San Francisco, and we'll see how they can navigate it, as right now they are currently in the AFC playoffs if they were to end today. So kudos to them. But there's a team just ahead of them in these rankings that is fighting to get in the playoffs right now, and that is the Denver Broncos. They're ahead of the Texans in these rankings at a 9-6 record, but they're number 8 in the AFC. And that's the thing with the NFL. You know, the format in the playoffs, winning your division is the most important thing. And then next, it's the wild card, and that's what the Broncos are fighting for right now. As Austin is up 1 spot this week after beating the Vegas Raiders at Las Vegas, 27-25. So that was a huge win for Denver to keep their playoff dreams alive. They're very much alive right now. And next, they'll be playing at the LA Chargers, the division leader in the AFC West, who are 10-4-1. So basically, that game is going to be huge in terms of the Broncos going forward. As if they win that game, that sets them up for prime position in the wild card, but it also puts them right on the doorstep of a division lead, as they would be 10-6 if they won that, and the Chargers would be 10-5-1. So you can't get much closer than that in terms of a division race, and it could come down to Week 18, and that very well could happen. So we'll see what happens in Week 17 with the Broncos. They are ranked number 14 this week, and they're not a playoff team right now, as they are tied right now with the 7th seeded Steelers, but do not have the tiebreaker, as the Steelers defeated Denver earlier this year. But we'll see what happens with the Broncos in their quest for the playoffs next, as they play at Los Angeles at the LA Chargers. And now we hit lucky number 13. Who do we have? We're heading down the home stretch here of these rankings. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I just mentioned. We're going to move over to them here. Got a little bit ahead of myself there. But it's the Steelers, who are 9-6 and number 7 in the AFC. Pat Strife has been on fire, winning the last 2 games now. They're up 1 spot from number 14. They did win at Kansas City, 28-21. So that was a dominating win on the road, and that's what you want to see if you're a Steelers fan. And next they'll be playing at home against the Cleveland Browns, who have been struggling mightily these past few weeks, who are 6-9. So that's a big game coming up, a big divisional game. It's an old rival. If the Steelers can get the W there, that's going to go a long way towards locking up that playoff spot. Now, they're not out of the woods yet, though, as Denver is going to look to keep pace with them. The Jets are still in play, as well as the Bills. So the Steelers need to just keep on winning, and I believe they would. This is the cliche you're going to hear a lot now around this time of the year. The Steelers do control their own destiny, whatever that means. But it does mean that if the Steelers just do what they need to do, they keep winning, they are pretty much in the playoffs. So we'll see if that continues this week, as they will now play Cleveland at home. And who do we now have for number? Now we move up to number 12. Let's see who that will be. It's the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, who are 9-6 and number 7 in the NFC. So they're in the same boat as the Steelers right now. They needed to keep winning, but unfortunately they're down 3 spots this week from number 9 after losing at Minnesota 30-28 in a possible playoff preview. Right now it's not a playoff preview, as since the Rams now dropped to the 7th spot, they would now be playing their division rivals, San Francisco, at San Francisco if the playoffs ended today, or if the season ended today. But it doesn't end today, as there's still a couple weeks left, and all the Rams have to play at Baltimore, who are 10-5. Now Baltimore is also fighting for a wild card position. They have not clinched yet, as they're still a lot of teams in the AFC who are in the hunt yet. But if the Ravens win, they're pretty much in. So we'll see what happens this week, as the Rams look pretty primed to clinch. They're 2 games up on Green Bay right now. The Packers need to win out and hope to get some help. That's what they need to do. And if the Rams lose out, and I believe if the Lions lose out, that'd probably be one of the only ways the Packers would have a shot. But we'll see what happens, as the Rams are in the NFC playoffs right now as it stands, and I believe are on the outside looking in for the AFC West right now, as they do trail the Niners by 2 games with 2 to play. So, as it is, they're really behind in the conference record, but the Rams' divisional record is right there within the 49ers. So, it could come down to the last week as they do play each other yet, I believe. So, that's going to be interesting, and we'll see what happens. But as it is, it's looking pretty good for Kevin to be in the playoffs. And that's the ultimate goal, really, when you start this season. So, kudos to Kevin, and the Rams at number 12 are looking to bounce back, though, as they'll now go on the road at Baltimore. Here we go to number 11. A team that has been moving up this list at a rapid pace. It's the Detroit Lions of CF, who are 9-6. They were left for dead probably 3 months ago, but now the Lions have roared back to the number 6 seed in the NFC. They stay at number 11 this week. No change for them, as they were the beneficiary of a shutout win at Atlanta, 26-0. And they've won their last 4 games now. So the Lions are peaking at the right time and are looking to make some noise in the NFC playoffs and clinch a playoff berth this week at Seattle, who is 3-12. Now, will they be able to do it? We'll find out. The Lions have been playing lights out these days, and I would not doubt that they can get it done. So kudos to CF, my fellow division rival. This could be the year. We'll find out. But the Lions, after a lot of adversity earlier in the season, have really started to figure it out and are now rolling. As we now head to the top 10. Who do we have? Do we have a new member of the top 10 here? I think we do. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of Brandon, who are 9-6 and number 4 in the NFC. They are the NFC South champions. They are up 2 spots this week from number 12 after winning at Carolina 26-23, taking care of a division rival on the road. And now they've won their last 5 games. So another team that's hitting their stride and just putting up big numbers and putting the wins on the board. And that's what you want to do heading into the playoffs. And will the Buccaneers be able to keep it going? And can they make the New York Jets walk the plank at New York, at New Jersey? We'll find out, as the Buccaneers will go to the Jets and try to keep their team intact, as the Jets are 8-7 right now. And that's pretty much a winner go home for the Jets. And the Buccaneers, they're playing the Buccaneers are playing loose right now. They can do what they want. They could literally have a player take their pads off on the sidelines and walk around shirtless in the end zone at East Rutherford in MetLife and just walk away. And the Buccaneers would still be in the playoffs. It wouldn't even matter. Now, do you want that to happen? No, you don't really want that to happen, but strange things sometimes do happen on a football field. So we'll find out, as the Buccaneers are now in the top 10 in the NFL Stableford League power rankings and are looking to keep their winning streak going and locking up maybe a higher seed in the playoffs. As we now move to number 9, another Florida team. It's Kade's Miami Dolphins, who are 10-6 and number 3 in the AFC right now. They're leading the AFC East based on some tiebreakers over Franz. I believe they beat Franz earlier this season, so that's what's putting them in the top spot. And I know they have to play each other again, and I'm sure that will be for the division title at some point. But right now, first things first, the Dolphins are down 5 spots this week. That's the problem, as they were number 4 and now they're number 9 after losing at the Saints 26-25. So they're making it a little bit harder on themselves. The Dolphins are. They got to get some of that Flex Seal and seal up that tank, as there might have been a crack. And we'll see if Snowflake can get back to happier swimming as they'll play at Tennessee next. So that's a big game for the Dolphins to get back to where they were. The Titans are 4-11, and they're looking to play some spoiler as they moved up pretty good pretty good already this week. So we'll see. That's going to be a pretty good clash, and we'll see if that Flex Seal tape holds long enough for Kade to set himself up for a possible AFC East division title. As we now move to number 8, it's the team that just lost at Tennessee. It's the San Francisco 49ers of Crush-tastic Jason. They're 11-4. They're down 3 spots this week from number 5, as they're number 2 still in the NFC. So that loss didn't really hurt anything in the grand scheme of things, as they're still leading in the NFC West, and they still held on to that number 2 seed. Pretty much just knocks them out of any possibility of getting home field throughout the playoffs, which, with the way Don Tagrock gets playing right now and the G-Men, that's probably not going to happen anyway. Not to throw any cold water on it, but that's just how it is. But as it is, the 49ers lost at Tennessee 29-27, tough loss. And next they'll look to bounce back at home against Houston, who are 7-1 right now. So we'll see if the 49ers can pick themselves back up at home against a team that is looking to make a big statement in the Houston Texans. As we now go to number 7, it's the New England Patriots of Franz, who are number 5 in the AFC right now. They're not leading their division, but they are the top-ranked team from the AFC East in these rankings based on their 10-5 record, and they're up 3 spots this week from number 10 after beating Buffalo at home 22-19. So it doesn't always happen that the top team in the division is ahead of you in the rankings. It's just, these are power rankings. These can change weekly. So, but as it is, usually they'll reflect what happens in the standings, but not in this case. As the Patriots will now be playing at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 7-1, and that's a must-win for the Patriots to keep pace with the Dolphins in the AFC East to set up a big final week showdown. The Jaguars really need this game as well, because right now they are behind the Texans, and we'll see what happens, as this is going to be a big clash in the AFC in week number 17. As we now move to number 6, it's the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew, who are 10-5. Mac is number 3 in the NFC. My division rival is up 2 spots this week from number 8 after winning at home against the Los Angeles Rams 30-28. That was a big win in the NFC playoff picture, and it kept the Vikings atop the NFC North, as they'll now play at Green Bay, who are 7-8, and they'll be looking to crown themselves the NFC North champions after that one. We'll see if they can, though, because the Detroit Lions are still in play. But as it is, the Vikings have won their last 3 games and have been very impressive this season, and are once again playoff bound in the NFC, as I believe they have already clinched a berth with that 10th win that they just got over the Los Angeles Rams. As we now move to the top 5, going to be a little bit more brief here as I'm trying to wrap this up. But the Los Angeles Chargers are at 5. They're number 2 in the AFC right now. Mike Rubino is up 2 spots from number 7 after that tie at Houston, 27 apiece. And next they'll play at home against Denver, who's 9-6. This is a big prove-it game for the Chargers, as the Broncos are their closest rival in the division right now, and beating them would send a big message to the rest of the AFC that the Chargers are gearing up for a big run in the playoffs. And we'll see if the Chargers can bolt up this week and bounce back from that tie and get back in the win column. As right now, that number 2 seed is pretty good in the AFC right now, and the Chargers have a very good home field advantage. So we'll see. You know, they want to win that division and they want to host some playoff games, and that's exactly what you want. As we now move to the Final Four, who do we have? It's the Baltimore Ravens of Eddie. Be More Golf Pro, 10-5. Number 6 in the AFC right now, as they do currently reside in the wild card spot. They're down one spot this week, though, after losing at Cincinnati in a nail biter, 29-28. That was a very close loss. I did not want to penalize the Ravens too much for that, as the Bengals have been tough all year long and are basically on the verge of clinching the AFC North. But the Ravens, they're no slouches themselves, as they will now be playing at home against the LA Rams, and I'll be looking to avenge that defeat to their division rival. The Rams are 9-6, and this is going to be a battle between two teams that are in similar positions, trying to fight for wild card positioning. So we'll see if the Ravens can finally lock up a playoff spot this week, as they have the Rams coming in from across the country this week. As we now move to the number 3 spot, and we go right next door and right up the Beltway to the Washington football team of Zach, who are number 5 in the NFC right now. Coinhen is 10-5, up 3 spots from number 6 last week after winning at Dallas, which was a nice win, 29-25, as Sky Blue Ben had the cheerleaders riled up pretty good there, but just wasn't able to pull it off. But the football team has been on a roll after winning their last 3 games now, and are looking to keep rolling through the NFC East rival Philadelphia Eagles, who come into town at 5-10. Now the football team just wants to keep rolling. They're pretty much settling into that number 5 spot in the NFC, and will undoubtedly be on the road in week 1 or in the wild card round. But they'll probably have a pretty favorable matchup against either the NFC South champion or the NFC North champion. We'll see. But it's going to be a tough game either way. But the football team has definitely solidified their spot in the NFC playoffs, and a number 3 ranking this week, which I believe is the highest since earlier in the season. So kudos to them. As we now move to the number 2 spot, it's the Cincinnati Bengals of Jason. Future Buckeye is 12-3, number 1 in the AFC, and number 2 in these rankings after defeating the Baltimore Ravens at home 29-28. They do not change their rank at all from last week. They stay right where they are after winning their last 5 games now. And next they will be playing at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 6-9, and you cannot look past them, as the Chiefs are looking to get maybe one more scalp before the end of this season. So we'll see what happens there, as the Bengals are staying at number 2 this week, which only means that at number 1, once again, for the umpteenth week in a row, it's Don Tagrocket and the New York Giants, who are 13-2 and number 1 in the NFC, and on their way to clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC. The Giants won at Philadelphia 27-20, another impressive win on the road, and next will be playing at Chicago, who are 6-9. So he's going through a lot of the new owners, and Don's not making it easy on them. And he's great at rolling out the welcome wagon on the forums and on Discord, but boy, when it comes to the games, there is no let up at all. And the New York Giants, and we wouldn't have it any other way, right, Don? As the Giants have won their last 13 games, count them, 13 games. So congratulations once again to the New York Giants for being the number 1 team in the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings after week number 16. And I want to thank you all for listening this week and joining me on this show as we journeyed through the number 32 to the number one team in the NFL Stableford League, and I had a lot of other announcements and surprises along the way. I know it was a pretty long episode, but for those that are not in the league, this is what I do every week. And for those in the league, I want to thank you for being a part of it and making it so much fun for me to do this show. And I'll have another show very shortly this week as we are wrapping up week 17 today. And I'll be back again with the power rankings for after week 17. But once again, this has been Lefty79, the NFL Stableford League commissioner. Thanking you for joining me, and I want to say take care, and I'll see you again down the road. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye for now.